Hey the freaking awesome people, Winnie here from Mind Now, and welcome back to Inspirational Mind, where we break down channels, interview people to gain their perspective on how you can master your mind and gain self-confidence, self-esteem, especially if you're an introvert. But hey, don't shy away if you're an extrovert, because the world needs you. So this is a very special guest, as you know from the thumbnail and the title. It's with Charlie from Charisma on Command. I did this last year in November, and back then it was the same Mind Now, only with a Y, M-Y-N-D. And yeah, I really do hope you enjoy it. The theme is very similar to now as well, also with self-confidence. And so, yeah, guys, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Yo, what's up, man?
Not too much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Beautiful, yes.
Awesome, man. Dude, this is such an honor. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
No problem, man.
Honestly. Dude, where are you right now?
So I'm in my apartment in Santa Monica.
All right, awesome. You said that you have half an hour to 45 minutes time, right?
Yes, let me just check my calendar real quick. I think I have something. Yes, I have something definitely in about 53 minutes. Another call that I gotta get on, but I'm good till then.
All right, awesome. Bro, this is such an honor, like I said, man. So I'm just going to jump straight to it, all right?
Okay, go.
All right, man. So what is like the number one tip that you would give to normal people to become self-confident, man?
Oh man, the number one tip.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on where you're starting from.
Okay.
So some people have worked on it, and the tips that I would give them would be around building a higher sense of self-love and self-esteem. For the regular person off the street, I think that the number one thing that they can do is probably prime themselves to be in a more confident state.
Okay.
So that typically looks like some sort of morning routine or some sort of routine before a stressful situation that gets you in a confident state. And this can mean listening to music, moving around, dancing. I talk about incantations and affirmations.
Yeah.
But whatever, I think people kind of naturally do this when they're driving on their way to go out and at night. They play some pump-up music. When they're going for some sort of athletic event, they've got their jam. Whatever is going to prime you to feel that confidence before you need it is the most helpful, because it is a skill and it can be tricky to just snap into it when you're blindsided.
Okay. So these are the things that you usually do?
Yeah, so I mean, I try every single morning. I have a routine where I wake up and I do a couple things before it, but then I play some music and I dance around and I say I love myself, and I try to start my day in that mood. If I am going out at night and I haven't been out in a while and I know that I'm going to be a little bit anxious to go up and approach girls or something like that, beforehand, I will make sure that as I'm getting dressed, I've got music on and I'm moving my body, I'm moving around, I'm being playful with my buddies. When I get into line, I chat with the bouncer, I chat with the person behind me and in front of me, so that when I'm in that situation that might make some people freeze and even make me freeze if I were a little bit less prepared, I'm not in that nervous state. I'm already in a good state, so the confidence is with me before I need to turn it on.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds cool. Do you actually do like cold approaches?
Yeah. I mean, so right now I'm working a lot more on my business. I haven't gone out, quite frankly. I used to go out 4 or 5 times a week. I was going out all the time, and I would say I'm down to once every week or two maybe at this point. It's a lot more business. It's a lot more dating. Like, dating has become just, I'm meeting women in different places than out at bars and clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. All right. So for example, if you see like a girl that you like, do you just like go straight up to her?
In an ideal world, do I do it every time? No. Absolutely not. So it's sometimes if I'm walking in the street and I see someone and they're walking in the opposite direction than me, I don't really have a choice. There's nothing to say, hey, do you have, the time or something? You have to go speak to her and say, hey, I saw you, I thought you were stunning, and it's very direct. Other times you'll find yourself just as an example, I haven't done this in a while, but if you're out at a bookstore and there's someone in the same aisle as you that you think is cute, there's a lot more things in the periphery that you can say, what book are you looking? You can start conversation much more situationally. But yeah, at a bar or a club, typically what I try to do is not pick a single person and go walk up to her because I think that she's attractive. I try to have fun with my friends, fun with whoever is right around me, and then from there, people tend to get drawn into it. And if at that point I do see someone that I want to speak to, I've already spoken to half a dozen people. It's very natural for me to go, hey, come over here. So that I try to form a vibe, and rather than just like pick a single individual that I want to go speak to when I can help it. Sometimes circumstances such that I'm walking past and you don't have a choice.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Dude, like there's this problem with some people where they can't really accept themselves, where they don't really love themselves, you know, and that's why they can't like build this self-confidence, and they don't want to like show themselves because they just, you know, they hate themselves. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so that's a deep one, and I think that it can be tricky for people to even acknowledge that about themselves. The way that a lack of self-love or even self-hate tends to come up is as self-sabotage. They get in their own way. They are right about to get the job or to date a person that they like, and then they screw it up. They finally start dating that person, and all of a sudden they become controlling and clingy. Like when things start working out for them, they sabotage because they don't think they deserve it. But if you do identify as someone who does those things, or who maybe doesn't have a high degree of self-love, I think step one is to do everything that you can to accept all of yourself. And I think that part of the problem is that the person that hates themselves typically hates a lot of people as well. They don't like that group, or Republicans, or Democrats, or goths, or people who like this kind of music. And really what that is there's parts of themselves that they're not cool with, and so it's easier to hate on people outside of themselves verbally. So step one is going to be just to practice acceptance. You don't need to love the policy of the other side. You don't need to love the music of the other side, but do as much as you can, not just inside, but with other people, to have compassion for differences. Because what that puts you in the habit of being accepting of the things that you might not love. And we all have things about ourselves that we're not crazy about. Times where we've been selfish, times where we've done really bad things to people that we care about. So you want to start by just giving compassion and understanding and acceptance to those things. Doesn't mean that you want to continue. The next thing, once you've come from a place of acceptance, is to create habits in order to kind of express to yourself that you do love yourself. So for instance, people will, before a date, they'll dress up, they'll make themselves look as nice as possible, they'll take the date out to a really nice date. But when they're home alone, they treat themselves like crap. They eat crappy food, they binge watch crappy TV. They don't have habits that are kind to themselves. And the self-talk that they have in their head is, you're lazy, you're this, you're the other thing. Versus if they were on a date, a first date with someone, and somebody said that they didn't get their homework done on time, they'd be much more compassionate about it. So it's to, again, cultivate this habit of being almost like a good friend to yourself. So get in the habit of, when you do find yourself beating up on yourself, expressing that compassion. Get in the habit of taking care of yourself physically, of treating yourself like you would want to treat a child or a very good friend, in terms of the way that you speak to yourself and the habits that you set up for yourself. And that will, there's a lot more, but that will start to cultivate this sense of self-love, and you'll stop self-sabotaging so much.
Have you ever been in that situation?
So I think it's a spectrum. I think that really everybody is in that. I think we all have situations in our lives where we limit ourselves. I think it's very rare that the world gets in our way and says, there is no way you're going to get what you want here. Much more common is, oh, I couldn't talk to her because she wouldn't like me, or I'm not the type of person who could ever start a business because I'm not that smart, or I don't have good ideas. It's very rarely that there's something outside of our control that just gets in our way and says, you will never achieve this thing. So have I been in that situation? Yes. I think I'm still in that situation. I think we are all, in different parts of our lives, we hit a ceiling of how high we will let ourselves go. And I think it's a constant practice of allowing yourself to achieve beyond that ceiling, and feeling like not only not that you necessarily deserve it, but that you don't deserve to be put down.
Yeah.
that it is you are capable of that potential, and that there's no reason that you shouldn't achieve it or experience it.
Okay. No, nice, man. Concerning overthinking, people, like when after high school they graduate and they don't really know what to do with their lives because they have like too many passions and stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say to that? Like how can someone find their thing that they have to pursue?
Yeah. But I think that there's two main blocks that get in the way of this. The first is a lack of exploration and experience. So when I was 19, you're like, Charlie, what do you want to do? Man, I could have rattled something off, but I had no idea. I didn't have any experience. So it was very important for me that I travel a bunch, take a bunch of different courses in different areas, see things that I disliked, see things that I liked, find out that I really liked some parts of Latin culture, but missed parts of American culture, right? So that gave me some framework. And then once you've had some experience under your belt, the second block that people have is that they're afraid to pursue the thing that they care the most about. So at that time in my life, I had a bunch of half-written essays, if you will, which eventually did become blog posts. But at the time, I would write them because I was really passionate about these ideas and these thoughts, but I wouldn't share them. And I think and if you ask me, Charlie, like, what do you want to do? I might have said, well, one day I'd love to be a writer, but that's one day down the line. And I think a lot of people have this. There's something that they're really into, they really care about, they pour themselves into in their free time, but they're afraid to pursue it as a realistic vocation. And for me, what snapped me out of it was my very good friends just being like, dude, you spend so much time interested in psychology and human interaction and trying to learn about what makes people tick, and then you go home and you write about it, yet you're looking for jobs as a management consultant. Like, what's going on here? And they really kind of made me face my fear and admit to myself that I was blocking myself from pursuing what I was truly interested in. And then there's this whole question of, okay, how do you make that happen? But I really think that the biggest mental block is in admitting to oneself what they are really, really interested and passionate about. So step one, explore. Step two, ask yourself, where do I have a lot of work that I'm not sharing with people? Where am I what am I spending money on to just go do in my free time that could potentially be a job? What do I lose myself in? When I'm just doing this, I lose track of time. And those will point you in the direction of something that doesn't need to be your life's passion, but could be a really interesting project for you for a long period of time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, man. I mean, you're also like into music and stuff, right? I mean, I saw that on Instagram. Do you plan on doing something about that as well?
Yeah, so this is right now, you asked me like, where do people limit ourselves? I think for me, I'm currently trying to bust through my fears around music. Music is something that I think most people on the planet just have a reaction to. Like, you hear a good piece of music and there's nothing better.
Yeah, true, man. Yeah.
And I love it. Not only do I love listening, I have worked hard to try to create it. So yeah, I've been taking lessons for a while, and I was afraid to post publicly about what I was doing because I felt like it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And so what I've come to recently is just post what you got, share it. Some people think it's good, some people say needs work, that's okay.
Yeah.
But the simple act of sharing it more has forced me to be honest about the areas that I need to improve on, and not just twiddle away practicing the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's actually helped me to get better faster. And to answer your original question, I do think that there'll be a period of time where charisma on command is the main focus, and I will work to build an organization that can kind of run without me, or not as, I won't need to be as involved, and then I can start to switch towards more of my full time going towards music. And then I do see myself splitting time, but that's kind of what I do right now. I just don't make any money on the music.
No, but that's awesome, man. Keep on going, because I mean, you're a good singer. I mean, I'm going to be really honest. I mean, there's still improvement to be made, but you're a good singer, man. You're a good singer. That's my personal opinion.
I think what's important to recognize there is, I appreciate that. I'm glad you think so. If I showed you my first singing you would have been like, this guy has no talent. He's tone deaf. He can't hear anything. I like to say that to for anybody for anyone, you can learn just about anything with enough grit and dedication. Doesn't mean you're going to be the best in the world. Doesn't mean you can make a career out of it.
Yeah.
You can get good at anything.
That's true. I totally agree.
So that's I'm glad that you think so, because it means that I've come quite a long way.
Yeah, man, dude. Like, I actually went to a doctor yesterday. I already told you in the emails that I wrote to you. But unfortunately, I got some bad news for my voice, because I also tried with singing and stuff. And I love music because I've been playing guitar like, I don't know, 13 years now or something. And I just love it. When I see you like on Instagram, it's like really awesome. But with doctors, I mean, before we get to the questions again, sometimes when I go to doctors, one say this, the other say that, so I'm not really sure which one is correct, but but I totally get your point with dedication, and if you want something, you can really get it. You just need to be persistent and do it like literally every single day, or at least try to, thank you very much, bro. I'm always looking there because I have my notes, so I have to so what's like the big revelation concerning becoming charismatic? Like the thing that you saw and you say, okay, that guy or that girl is charismatic. What's that specific feature,
Yeah. So when I broke it down, I mean, I wrote this years ago, but I do think it's still true. Is that there's really three things that determine it. It's your conviction. Like, do you have this belief in whatever you're saying? And this is when charisma can become dangerous, because it doesn't matter almost what you believe. You can believe something horrible. You can be an Adolf Hitler type, which is he just had insane conviction and people followed him down a very dark path. But really, it's a belief in yourself, and that comes from really knowing your values. Second is energy. Like high energy is typically going to perform at a more arresting, grabbing level than lower energy. Now, certainly are there people that are more subdued and calm that can still be charismatic? Absolutely. But there's an intensity there, even. If you think of like a Marlon Brando, like he didn't necessarily speak all that much, but there was an intensity. And then lastly, it's these simple presentation things. So, do you say often? Right there. Is it difficult for you to make eye contact? Are you someone who has worked on your conversational chops, or do you just go back to, so, how's the weather? There's all these little things that you can do that will make you more charismatic, and that's what we focus on a lot in the channel is what are these tiny little presentation level things that when added up make you come across as much more charismatic.
Did you actually like take classes and courses on this, or?
No, so I was a philosophy major, and I don't think there are courses or classes as far as I can tell. There's certainly things that help. There's improv comedy, there's Toastmasters for public speeches. The way that I learned was by watching the people around me that really were charismatic and trying my best to understand what they were doing that was different from what I was doing. So I remember that I had a friend, and there were times where I would tell a joke and no one would laugh. And within 3 seconds, he'd repeat what I said, and everyone would crack up.
Really?
Guy's stealing my jokes, but people don't think it's funny when I say it. So I tried to pay very close attention to him to see what was happening, and learned a lot from people like that. And then it was a matter of going out and experimenting. One of the best ways, because I was a young guy, was I wanted to meet women that I was attracted to, so I was going out to bars and clubs, and some of the most honest feedback that you'll get in terms of your ability to converse is from a woman in a bar or club, because she's got 30 other guys that are trying to talk to her. If you're not coming across with confident body language, talking about engaging topics, she is probably not going to stay and speak to you for very long. So I got a lot of feedback very, very quickly from those situations. And while dating is not exactly the same as other situations, it helped me to understand some of the foundational things about what captures and maintains people's attention.
Okay. Wow. Man, you when you talk like really thoroughly, you go like really into detail, man. That's like awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
So okay, I think we're going to get into a bit about entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur and I want to become one as well. And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs?
So, like starting beginner entrepreneurs.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So again, same. You asked a similar question. It always depends on where you are at which stage. It's like what advice would you give to a baseball player? Well, is he in little league or is he in high school or is he in the major leagues? Because the advice is going to shift. But I'll assume that it's someone in your position where they want to but don't really know how to begin or haven't totally started.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
So,
Sorry.
Sure. So I think that a lot of the biggest thing that holds people back is the belief that they need a good idea. And I think that the hard thing to recognize is that ideas are worth nothing. It's very easy when you think of someone who, man, I had that idea, or like the pet rock, oh man, so stupid, I could have made that. Execution counts for so much more. Charisma on command is not a good idea. It might seem like that in retrospect, but nobody's looking for how do I be charismatic. Nobody. It doesn't occur to anybody. It's not a smart idea to have a YouTube channel where you give advice. Like there's no reason that should be successful. I think our success comes from the way that we've executed it, and the way that we have executed with the breakdowns and the types of things that we cover have made it successful in spite of an idea that is mediocre at best. So the first thing is that entrepreneurs are so concerned with whether or not they have a good idea, and they often tell themselves, when I have a good idea, that's when I'll start my business. And you never will. So, here comes my buddy. What's up, bro? This is my delivery.
Hey, Ben.
This is my shake delivery thing.
Nice.
Sorry for interrupting.
No worries, man.
Yes, when I'm done. So, entrepreneur stuff. Pop that in. Number one thing is ideas. So people often think that the idea is holding them back. It's not the idea. The second thing is that you need a curriculum as a learning entrepreneur. Consider it almost like a class. There's nothing that I could say in an hour or 45 minutes which would take you from A to Z. But I could lay out a curriculum of books and courses that will take you down that path. And so the beginning part of that curriculum, I think for most people, is to read the 4-Hour Workweek, because that's going to really shift a lot of the things that you think about what it takes to be a businessman, and shift your understanding of what is valuable in business. I could go into it, but the 4-Hour Workweek does it even better. After that, that's going to help you brainstorm the topic for your business. There's a course that is called Marketing Step by Step. It's not so easy to find nowadays. It's by a guy named Eben Pagan. That's fantastic. And then the third thing that I would recommend is a book called Running Lean by Ash Maurya. And if you put those three things together, you will find yourself with an idea, interviewing customers, and at the end of it, you can literally sell them on something that you have not yet created. You can collect money.
Okay.
What we did with Charisma on Command, with Charisma University, which is we had our blog, we had a couple people that were interested. We interviewed a bunch of people and asked them, what would you like us to make? They're like, I want to learn about first impressions and confidence and all this. I said, okay, if we make a course that looks like this, it's going to take 6 weeks, you'll get coaching, you'll get this, would you want to join for $500? They said yes, and before we had any of it made, we sold $12,500, 25 people joined that course. And so that model of finding out what you love to do that people are interested in and will literally pay for before it exists, that's what's going to be taught to you in these courses, how to do that well. And now you've got a business, right? You don't need to worry about if the idea is good. It's good. People want it. They're paying for it before it exists. So those courses are what I recommend to just about everybody who's starting.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks. Oh, man. Wow. Okay. One moment. Let me write that down for 1 second. 4-hour work week.
I'll send it to you via email. Don't sweat it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, 4-hour work week. Oh yeah. Concerning books, what other books would you actually recommend besides the 4-hour work week and running league? That's what you said, right?
As an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
there's a ton. It depends on which direction you go after those three. I think that those are really foundational. Those take you, so it's 4-hour work week, marketing step by step, which is an audio course, and running lean.
Mm-hmm.
Those take you to the point where you have a business, you have money in your pocket. You have thousands of dollars in your pocket, and now you have to go make something. So you need to learn how to execute at this point. And the direction of the next book that I give would be dependent on, okay, did you create a coaching business?
Mm-hmm.
Did you create a product business? Is it more of a service? Whatever books I give at that point are going to be very dependent on the direction of the individual business.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Then I won't ask further because I don't even know if I want to do coaching or products or service. But all right, that's cool. And what other books? Like, I guess you read psychology books, and I guess because you're into psychology as well. And
yeah. So recently, what am I reading? I'm reading a fair amount on Buddhist philosophy these days.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Do you meditate?
So I have in the past, and I've recently restarted. I think it is increasingly important for me. at the
Definitely.
stage that I'm in.
Definitely. I actually meditate every morning, like for 20 minutes, and I feel really awesome.
Yeah. I try to take my time up, so I'm at 25. I'll probably do 25 a few more days, bump to 30. I do think that there's value in the extended meditations, meaning can you sit still for an hour or more?
Definitely.
And that's very daunting for me, and it's very daunting for a lot of people, but
Yeah.
it's a true test of what it's like to be you. Because if it's tough to live in your head, if it's tough to be you, you cannot sit still for an hour because your brain will just torture you.
Yeah.
So getting to the point where you can meditate for 60 or 90 minutes, which is a goal of mine, I think is a strong indicator that you really do have a high degree of emotional mastery, that it's nice to be you, that it's not torturous, you're not constantly trying to escape your thoughts, it can be nice to just sit and do nothing. And
So-
that's an incredible power.
Yeah.
When you don't need stuff outside of yourself to feel good, when you can literally sit in a room and do nothing, my God, your dating life is going to go through the roof because you're not going to tolerate any BS. The types of business partners you have are going to be a super high quality because anyone who's not awesome just be like, I don't need this. I'll just go
Yeah.
be alone. Like,
Yeah. True, man.
so
True.
It really does. It raises your standards, I think, when you meditate like that.
Yeah. So I guess you do mindfulness meditation, right?
I've been doing mindfulness meditation. I've been trying to figure out what the right one is. There's a couple. I've actualize.org describes a meditation that's a do nothing meditation, which is you just sit still and you allow your thoughts to carry you in whatever direction. And then, of course, mindfulness is more focusing on sensation, breath, whatever it is that you're feeling. Sometimes you can label it. Sounds like you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a mix of both.
Okay. Oh, that's cool, man. That's really awesome. Yeah, I love talking about meditation because it has helped me a lot, man. A lot. Yeah, that's why I'm like always when I hear, oh, Charlie actually meditates. That's awesome, bro.
I'm a beginner. I'm very much a beginner. I do think I have a lot to skill. I think like any other to really to develop an ability to sit with yourself as much as it doesn't sound like a skill. Most people can't do it. It's hard. And
Yeah, definitely.
that I'm very much still learning, and I think it's day by day it's getting a bit more comfortable.
Yeah. And ultimately, you will become happier as well, like the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wait one moment. Yeah, talking about conviction, you actually mentioned that at the very beginning. Do you think it comes by having the self-confidence first, or does it just come by automatically, or how would you like describe it? Like,
So I think Conviction, I think, really starts from coming back to core values. People who lack conviction are doing things because their mom and dad told them to, or because their friend group thinks it's cool, or because society thinks that you should be a doctor or a lawyer. So you ask them, like, what do you love about practicing medicine? And they'll give you an answer, but it's paper thin. People who have conviction have taken the time to sit down and go, what's valuable? What matters to me? And they really do get to the core of it, so that if you're to ask me about music or charisma on command, the way that I'm going to speak of it, because it truly is foundationally important to me, is going to come across as just this is the truth, versus someone who, and I don't mean to say everyone in the industry, but someone who maybe is an accountant who is there because they thought it was a job that pays a lot of money, and you ask them, anything, tell me about life, what's important. That's a person who has made decisions not based on their values, but based on what they think will keep them safe, perhaps, and what other people have told them is important. So it's going to be tough for them to have conviction in their life, because they're probably making a lot of decisions from that place. So I really do think it comes down to, what are your values, and then having the courage to live them. Because oftentimes, like I said, if your value is music, if your value is a business like Charisma on Command, certainly people were not supportive when I told them that I was going to leave my job as a consultant to pursue this. But in having done that, in having had success doing that, it is a virtuous cycle of conviction. It doesn't mean that I can't take feedback. It doesn't mean that I'm blind to someone saying, hey, have you considered this perspective? But it does mean that I try as much as possible to be guided by my values, rather than what is going to be safest, get me the most acceptance, and please other people.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because, I really like, because I have some friends who just, they're unhappy about themselves, and they're just really afraid to show themselves, and it does not matter how many articles they read and how many videos they actually watch, and I think, all with self-love and self-confidence and self-esteem. I think you even talked about the difference between self-esteem and self-love, I think, in one video. I think it all comes down to conviction. That is just my opinion. To, like, literally everything, what people do and what they believe in and what actually makes them happy is the belief that they have, I looked at, I watched an interview of Jim Carrey. You know Jim Carrey, right? Of course. And yeah, I think he's like enlightened, and he has this conviction, like he really believes in what he says, and of course he has educated himself, but I think like happiness really comes from the belief that whatever you're doing is right, is correct. And it does not matter, because you will always have haters, right? I mean, you also have haters, which I don't understand, but people are just different. And so that is what actually pulls one down, the hater. You're doing something good, but then you see someone who's saying, dude, what you're doing is just wrong. And you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, and then that guy or that girl will have doubts. And, it's sometimes it's a bit difficult, because some people don't realize that no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, you will always have people who just want to drag you down, and and it's sad, but it is how it is. And I think it's normal, and they should be there, because it's just kind of a balance. And besides, you should just ignore them and do your own thing. But then again, sometimes you just think, am I really doing the right thing? Because, okay, I have haters and they're saying that what I'm doing is wrong. So am I doing the right thing? You know what I'm saying?
So I think that the important piece with haters is you don't have to take every single bit, especially if you're at a level where I get more comments with people disagreeing with me than I could read in a day. But it's not about, I think people often say block out the haters. I don't think that, I think that's a stopgap solution to just say ignore them, because you could be a real jackass if you ignore the haters, right? You could be a complete selfish, arrogant jerk and just
Yeah.
go, I'm not going to listen to my haters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what you need to do is take in the information that is
Yeah.
coming at you. Don't let it lead to any sort of self-condemnation, like, oh my God, I'm a piece of crap. You know, even if
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
says that about you, try to find the feedback in there and think, okay, is this right? Do I need to reevaluate my values? And did I think that I was living up to my values in a way that I'm not? And in that way, I think what the problem is that people think that when somebody criticizes something that they've done, something that they plan on doing, whatever, that they think it is a reflection on their value as a human being. Like, oh crap, I'm worthless now. And when you can separate, hey, maybe I made some grievous mistakes, maybe I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, you become more open to feedback. And because you're adjusting, you're constantly making sure that you are on the best path possible. So there will and continue to be times where I've discovered that things that I've been doing in my past I don't like, and I wish that I hadn't done them, and I have to adjust. And I do think that if you shut out the haters, you're closing off the person who's going to point that thing out to you in the most aggressive way, and you don't necessarily want to do that. You don't need to beat yourself up when you change course. In fact, be proud. Be proud of the fact that you were open enough to go, you know what? I thought that I was doing this right the whole time, and in fact, I wasn't. One of the things, for instance, just so that this isn't so abstract, is the beginning when I told you I was going out to bars and clubs and talking to girls. One of the first books I ever read was The Game, and The Game has all these lines in it that, you know, say this to her when you start. And one of them is, oh my God, did you see the fight outside? And so I was an 18 or 19 or whatever year old kid, or 20, I don't even know, going, and I say this and people get engaged, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, they're listening to me speak. And people would tell me, this is a terrible book, don't listen. I said, nope, I'm not going to listen to you, not going to listen, block out the haters. But after some time, I realized, I was like, wait a second, there wasn't a fight outside. Like, I'm telling a lie. This isn't true. I'm sure people are paying attention to me, I'm getting what I want, but it's based on something that is just a flat out lie. And I, told myself it's not lying, it's flirting, because that's what he says in the book. But I had to come around to this idea of, you know what, I'm not going to lie. And that is valuable feedback for me from people that are saying there's something wrong here. Doesn't mean that I need to do it exactly how they would do it, but in absorbing that, seeing how it reflects or how it matches up to my own values, I can then adjust. So I think that's where conviction comes from. Because when you've made so many adjustments in the past and somebody says, I don't think you're doing it right, you're like, I got a pretty good idea that I'm doing it right, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm open to it. This has very much been stress tested. My way of being in this world has been stress tested many times, and I've made adjustments. So it's not like you're the first person to say, have you considered doing it this way?
Yeah. All right. That's good opinion on that. What did I want to say? Oh yeah, concerning being a perfectionist. I think a lot of people, especially here in Germany, because people have different mentality, towards entrepreneurship, because they think it's risky. And here parents say you need to go to college and get a degree and become an employee. And my problem is, for example, that I need to know everything. I'm like a guy who I just need to know literally everything before I can start something. For example, right now I'm studying international business, and I think that I have to know this. I need to know accounting. I need to know this part, like literally everything. But I think I hear this quite often. I mean, I think in the book 4-Hour Work Week, it also says that you kind of have to outsource it, because eventually you don't really have time to do like literally everything. So I'm asking myself, what is like, okay, how do I rephrase this? How do I know when I know enough?
Yeah. So I think that when you get really deep into perfectionism, it's a better word for it is fear. Yeah, afraid of making a mistake. Afraid
Yeah,
and what perfectionism does is it keeps you safe because you never get started. You just learn, 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 learn. You never actually have to take the risk, stick your neck out there, and get the truth back, which is it failed.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
You just go, I'm still learning, and I did that with music. Perfect. I'm going to be perfect before I perform.
yeah,
That's a cop out. Go suck. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Go
yeah,
take your lumps. So when do you know if you know it enough? I think you should fail as fast as possible. Go out there and screw up. Now, fail small in the sense that don't invest your life savings into it, but go out and invest your time. I mean, that's something at this point in your
yeah.
life that you got as a student and
Totally,
you're
man.
trying to make your way. Go fail a whole bunch. The answer is you already have learned enough, and what you'll realize is you haven't learned anything. I don't know the first thing about accounting or international business. You know what I mean? But I sell to people all over the world.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you think you're going to learn about international business, you're not going to learn in a textbook. Business is not a theory, it's a practice. And no matter, I'll give you the books, but you're going to learn more from your own experience than you could ever hope to learn
Yeah,
in these
totally.
courses, which are still really valuable.
Yeah.
So, short answer, you've already got enough. You've already learned plenty. It's time to get out there and do it.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with you, man. Because I actually also have friends who are entrepreneurs and they are successful, and they say the same thing. But I want to hear your opinion as well, you know, so that people actually believe me. But it's not about convincing people or anything, but it's just for me as well. So that,
Sure.
yeah. Oh, yeah, about scheduling. Do you have like a schedule plans that you have to do from this time to this time? You have to do this and this and this?
I'm very inefficient. I would describe myself as pretty effective, but very inefficient. I don't spend that many hours working. I have a ton of free time. This business was very much built in the model of Tim Ferriss's lifestyle business, which is I have time, you know? And if I look at my calendar and I'm looking, this is a busy week for me, and I have 3 things on my calendar today and 2 on them tomorrow, one of which is a lunch with friends. So there's not a lot of, I do not schedule. Now, the things that I do have increasingly is a morning routine, which is like my meditation, visualization, that kind of stuff I'm finding is increasingly valuable.
Yeah.
But I am not a guru on productivity for sure. I still manage to get a decent amount done, but I could do a ton more. I prefer the flexibility.
All right. Yeah, that's really awesome. So, dude, talking about free time, do you then travel a lot now?
No, so I traveled for the last 10 years.
Oh, okay.
It was a great, important experience.
Yeah.
That was very valuable for me, taught me a ton. But one of the things that it has taught me after, 10 years is an exaggeration. It was more like 5. But one of the things that it taught me, I was picking up and moving just about every 6 months, is that I really value having a community and a home and a routine. And every time I picked up, I would destroy that. All the people that I was friends with, if I was dating anyone goodbye, cause stress in relationships, trying to maintain something long distance. I am happy in Southern California right now. I might move one day, but I rarely, if ever, travel. I like my routine. And
Okay.
that while travel is important, it gets glorified in the Instagram age that we live, where you have all these beautiful sunsets, and I think people forget to realize that there's the same amount, like people are coming to visit your city in most cases. Now, not all of them, but like if you live in Berlin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are coming to Berlin, man. You know what I mean? Like there's somebody in the world whose dream is to go to Berlin, and they're going to go with wide eyes and think everything's amazing, and for you, it's just whatever.
Yeah.
So all that said, travel, see some, do that stuff, check out the cultures, but it is not the cure-all, make you happy thing that I think it's advertised as nowadays. Like, oh, you got to travel the world.
Yeah, definitely, man. Dude, talking about meditation, I have to go back to meditation again. So you are a beginner in meditating, right?
Yes.
Are you actually reading books concerning this?
Yes.
Okay. Which book would you recommend?
So actually, no, I've read books on it. I forget the title. One is Radical Acceptance by Tara Branch. Some of them I've mentioned actualize.org, which is a YouTube channel. He talks a lot about meditation.
Yeah.
What's the thing that I'm reading? I'll have to go in my Kindle. There's another one on just Buddhist philosophy.
Okay.
But a lot of my understanding of the different technique comes from that Radical Acceptance book and actualize.org.
Okay. All right. So, can I actually recommend you one book?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's called Mindfulness in Plain English. And it's a really great book. It tells you literally everything about how to meditate and what to do with your thoughts and everything. Honestly, it's written very awesome and very easy to read as well. So, pardon?
Who is it by?
The author, I do not know. I think he comes from Myanmar or something. He was a monk before. He's a very experienced guy as well. I read his biography, but I can't remember his name now. Anyway, it's a really great book. If you're really into meditation, that's what
He's got a weird name. I'm looking at him now.
Yeah. It's a very Asian name. All right. I think I've already asked you everything I wanted to know, man.
Beautiful.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so very much. Boom! That was the interview with Charlie. Man, it was really a blast and an honor that he actually gave me that opportunity to interview him, because he's quite famous in the YouTube world. I was pretty nervous. Yeah, you can kind of hear that maybe. And I had the same pullover on back then in 2017. Anyway, what was your biggest takeaway from Charlie? Tell me in the comments down below. And hey, always check out my description for awesome, surprising stuff that will help you further gaining self-confidence and self-esteem by mastering your mind. And for more entertaining Mind Now content where we talk about, okay, I won't repeat that stuff. Remember that you are freaking awesome and that you can do it if you put your mind to it. Winnie out. For now.